What happens when you forget to worry? Welcome to Sobriety Snippets for Women Over 40. Before we go any further today, I just want to check in with you and make sure that you're following the show. Have you subscribed? Hit the follow button, hit the like button. Gals, we want as many women as possible finding the snippets because they work, they help. I hear from you every single day. You can do your part to spread the snippets far and wide by taking a moment to make sure you're following the show. And better yet, you could even leave 5 stars and a positive review. And I will love you even more than I already do. Okay, let's get started. Gals, the other day I was walking along and feeling lighthearted, kind of light in the step, feeling good. And all of a sudden this voice in my head poked at me and said, you really should be worried about fill in the blank. Well, in my case, that day it was actually about my husband who's having some health issues, but you can fill in the blank. This was literally the message that came into my mind, and it really brought me up short. I mean, at first I thought, yeah, you're right, I should get worrying. But then I thought about that whole internal conversation and realized what the hell is going on here? So I've been thinking about it very carefully, and I want to share with you, pull this apart together today. Let's look at it together. What does this mean? What the hell was going on? And how does it affect our sobriety journey? What came out of it was pretty interesting. So stick around for that. But before I get started, I just want to welcome you back. And if you're new in Snippet Land, just give yourself a pat on the back. I'm so glad that you found us because this is the place to be. If you're a 40-plus woman who's got everything together except alcohol, dogging you, bugging you, taking you down, turning your beautiful life into so much less than it could be. And by everything together, I don't mean that you're perfect. What I do mean is that you've shown up for life. Most of us are educated, we have careers, or we're retired, we've got families, we've got grandchildren. But alcohol somehow got a hold of us and is really casting a shadow over everything. Once we realize that that's really what's going on, then it's time to do something about it. And it's those women, you, that I'm talking to here in Snippet Land. And that was my journey. So let me describe to you exactly what happened to me on my walk the other day. Literally, I was feeling quite free. And I'm human. I'm like everybody else. The internal narrative, the constant chatter in the brain. It used to be about alcohol. Thank God it's not anymore. That's been gone for a good 5 years. And yes, that can happen for you as well. It does happen, gals. That voice does die. On Monday, we talked about that voice, and that's the goal. It disappears, never to be heard from again. But don't be fooled. Something else will take its place because this is the journey of being human. We cannot shut the mind off, and there's always something to be worried about. The mind will always find something. So we get very few really, truly free moments in life, but we can build a life where we're getting more and more freedom. And I'm experiencing that on some level, where I'm walking along just feeling good, right? What the hell's wrong with that? I don't have to be constantly worried, except all of a sudden, that was the thought that assailed me. Becca, you really should be worried about your husband. He's not well, and et cetera, et cetera. And then the voice starts giving me what ifs. What if this happens? What if that happens? And so on and so forth. And it builds this future in my mind of the worst possible scenario that could happen. And all of us, and I caught myself up short because I realized that was the message. The message was, you're being irresponsible because you're not worried about him. How dare you go on a walk with your dogs on a sunny afternoon and not worry about your husband? Don't you know that he's... And on it goes. Oh my God, like what the heck? Okay, I'm flabbergasted by this. I've actually talked about this before. It's been quite a while. This is the idea that as mature, responsible women, we take on worry as a responsibility. Not intentionally. We don't set out to do it. We don't plan it, but it becomes something that we do almost as if we are helping by doing it, that it's our responsibility to be worried about our loved ones, worried about the future, or worried about this or that or whatever it is. And if we're not worrying, we're somehow dropping the ball. How dare you be free and light when somebody in your world is less than perfect, when somebody's got something going on, or when this thing is happening or that thing? You need to be worried. It's your job. You're the one that shows up for everybody. You aren't worrying. What is wrong with you? Now, isn't that absurd? When we think about it, it's bizarre, but we do it. As I said, please be careful here. We don't do it intentionally, but it just comes naturally, and it's built right into our society. It really is. All advertising is based on fear and worry. Do this, plan that, because something could go wrong. It's the way we are socialized to be concerned. But I would like to remind you that worrying is counterproductive on every level. And even though we intellectually know that, we still think we need to do it. Gals, what I want you to get today is the idea that if you stop worrying, your world will not fall apart. It is okay to let the shit go. It doesn't mean you're being irresponsible. It doesn't mean you're not aware that there's a problem there that needs your attention. In fact, you've probably already taken care of it to the best of your ability. We can take my husband as an example. He needs an appointment with the doctor. Well, we make that appointment. It's coming up in a few days. Is there anything else I can do? Well, maybe we could look at what he's eating or whatever. We take care of what we can take care of, and then we drop it. I don't need to worry about it, but my mind pokes at me. You should be worried. Things aren't great. Something could go wrong. This could be bad. How come you're not worrying, Becca? Excuse me? No. I'm not going there. I'm not doing it anymore. This is something that it's taken me a long time to get a handle on. First of all, we have to notice it, because this is happening to you and you don't even notice it. It's just an automatic. In fact, we honestly do take it on as though it's a responsibility. If you're not worrying, you're being irresponsible. Write that in your journal. Is it irresponsible of me to not worry? We all know the answer intellectually. Of course not, because we know it doesn't help. So let's talk for a moment about what worry actually does.
You're listening to this podcast, so I know you've got a curious mind. Here's a helpful fact you may not know yet. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save over $900 on average. Pop over to Progressive.com, answer some questions, and you'll get a quick quote with discounts that are easy to come by. In fact, 99% of their auto customers earn at least one discount. Visit Progressive.com and see if you can enjoy a little cash back. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $946 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2024 and May 2025. Potential savings will vary.
Here's what worry does. It steals today. It robs this moment of its peace. It drains your energy. It narrows your thinking. It makes you less present for the people you love. Even if the thing you're worried about never happens, you've already lived through it 100 times. And personally, I also believe that the emotional energy we live in matters. I believe that fear attracts more fear, just as peace attracts better thinking and better choices. Worry does the exact opposite of what we expect. We want to worry to protect our loved ones, and instead, we create more negativity in our world and reduce our chances of showing up for them as the best possible version of ourselves. Now, note this. I'm not saying you set out and plan to worry, because we know for the third time, we know intellectually that worry is not helpful. But I really do think that if we look carefully, look deeply inside this, there is a part of us that really honestly feels that it is the only way to be truly responsible. Think about your children. When they're leaving the house or they're going somewhere, especially when they were younger, it's our job as mothers to worry. Of course I'm worried. They're my children. But seriously, we can ask ourselves, who gains from worry? Who benefits from it when we are worried? Not our husband, not our children, certainly not ourselves, nobody. Why do we keep believing we should do it? Well, first of all, it's socially acceptable, isn't it? We easily can say to someone, oh, I'm just a little bit worried about fill in the blank, and nobody blinks an eye. Everyone just, yeah, I can understand that would be worrying. You might have the odd person in your life who goes, well, there's no point in worrying. And usually when someone says that, we get annoyed. Don't tell me not to worry. I have a right to worry. You know, that one friend who says, oh, there's no point in worrying. We don't actually want to hear that. Isn't that funny? Think of that one. Boy, oh boy, I tell you, human nature is an interesting, interesting beast. Now, I mentioned earlier that the voice of alcohol that we talked about on Monday can die and never return. But it also mentioned that doesn't mean that we have no voice. And I would be willing to argue that one of the things that replaces the voice of alcohol is the voice of worry. It continues, it grows, it takes up almost like where the voice of alcohol left off. However, if you're still struggling with alcohol and you're worrying, you are being attacked from two sides. So here you are, you've got the voice of alcohol saying, oh my goodness, you really deserve a drink, you need a drink. And you've got the other voice going, if you drink, your liver's going to explode. You're going to shorten your life. You could screw up. What if you text somebody and what if this, what if goes on and on. And then you're worrying about drinking while you also want to have a drink. Wow, what an uncomfortable place to live. And there we are living there because it's all happening inside of us. Listen, my dears, worry isn't love. Worry is not love. We confuse worry with responsibility, with caring, with being a good wife or being a good mother. For years, I confused worrying with loving. I thought if I love someone enough, I'd worry about them. What I'm beginning to realize is that love doesn't require worry. Love requires presence. And if we want to put some icing on that cake, instead of worrying, we can shift the feeling in our heart and send them love bombs all day long. When you find yourself worrying about something, just pause for a moment, take a deep breath, change the feeling inside, the feeling of worry, change it to a feeling of love with intention, and just mentally send love to the person or situation that you're worried about. And just see it in your mind as covered in love and see it in your mind as resolved to the benefit of everyone. The truth is, gals, that no matter what happens, even if the worst happens, your worrying never helped. We know that, right? We know that. And so if the worst possible scenario comes to pass in your life, you will step up. You will survive it. You will get through it. You will grow from it. You will learn from it. You will be a better, stronger woman because of it. And worrying plays no role in that scenario. Because once that happens, you've already been through it 1,000 times and you're an emotional wreck. Meaning that if the worst thing does happen, you've already lived through it over and over. And by the time you really need to show up because it actually happened, you're exhausted and it hadn't happened yet. Right? Get my point? It's a mess. This is a tangled web we weave, right? So here's my invitation this week. The next time the voice tells you you should be worried, pause. And I just want to stop there for a second. You may very well never have had the voice say to you, you should be worried. And that's because you probably are worrying. You're only going to hear the voice say, hey, why aren't you worried? If you're not worrying. So if you're typically worrying all the time, that's not going to happen. But as you start practicing giving up worrying, you go on a worrying cleanse and you decide you're going to fast from worrying. And when you notice yourself worrying, you switch it to love. Eventually the voice will say, hey, hold on a sec, you really should be worried. And when that happens, I want you to pause and ask yourself one question. Is there anything I can actually do right now? And if the answer is yes, then do it. Do it immediately. Do not hesitate. Do what needs to be done to take care of the problem. But if the answer to the question, is there anything I can actually do right now, is no, then perhaps your job isn't to worry. Perhaps your job is simply to return to this moment, to trust, to breathe, and to send some love mentally to whomever needs it. Sending love mentally is very powerful. It soothes your soul, and eventually they will feel your love, regardless of the distance between you. Love is very real and very magnetic. And when we send positive vibrations, it does land, my dear, especially if you believe that it's landing. So build up a nice big ball of love in your heart and shoot it off to somebody in your world today who's suffering and struggling. But try not to worry about them or yourself. The next time the voice of alcohol tries to get you worried about what you might have done to your body or the damage that you've done, take a nice deep breath and recognize that you are changing. You're doing something about it. I know you are because you're hearing my voice right now. That means you care. That means you've started this journey. And as long as you're on this journey, there's only one place you can go, and that's towards freedom. As long as you keep going and take the actions that you need to take, as long as you're not surface dwelling, as long as you're not sitting back and listening, but taking action, you will experience change. My dear, if you're worrying, today is the day to recognize it as a voice of habit. Take that deep breath and replace it with love. And if you want help doing this consistently over time and changing that voice, as we talked about on Monday, today is a great day to join us in Fresh Start Foundations. This is my group of women just like you, who are getting started on their alcohol-free journey. We meet every Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern and get geared up for an alcohol-free weekend and an alcohol-free week. We stay connected in WhatsApp in between. There's no heavy teaching in this group. There's no heavy transformation in this group. What this is the fresh start. This is the voice of alcohol, regulating that nervous system and getting your first few weeks of sobriety. And it costs less than you're spending on alcohol every single month. I put the link in the show notes, and I'd love to see you there. Thanks for popping in. Be sure to come back next time so I can keep your head on straight. Sending you buckets of love.
The modern man is fascinating. He has a standing desk. He takes creatine. He listens to podcasts at 2 times the speed. He owns 3 water bottles, and he follows 6 productivity influencers. Then every weekend, he drinks enough alcohol to tranquilize a rhinoceros. If any of this sounds familiar, I'm Shane Raymer, host of That Sober Guy podcast. We talk performance, we talk purpose, we talk leadership, and we talk about building a better life without alcohol. Because the answer isn't another life hack. It's removing the thing that's holding you back. Search That Sober Guy wherever you get your podcasts.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.